Greetings, I'm Rob Chappers.
And I'm the captain.
And Lee prefers Les Pauls and I prefer PRS.
We weren't going to say that, but the truth is out. No, we thought you guys like to watch videos where, you know, we compare products and we see, you know, how we should feel about guitars. And we thought a great one to do, seeing as Gibson have launched a new spec Les Paul Standard for 2013, and PRS have launched a new spec Custom 22 for 2013. It would be cool to kind of get them in the same video, talk about how they're different, talk about where maybe one of us prefers one thing or the other.
The thing is, Lee is way more of a traditionalist.
Yeah.
And I'm a future-thinking kind of guy. Well, I like tradition as well.
You know what we both totally and utterly agree on is that everything about guitar is subjective.
Yes.
You know,
it's like bacon sandwiches.
Nothing about a bacon sandwich is subjective. Everybody likes a bacon sandwich,
absolutely,
except Jewish people.
I don't.
That's okay. That can stay in.
Bacon sandwiches are all great. Sometimes you put a bit of ketchup in it. Sometimes you put a bit of relish in it. It's still a bacon sandwich.
Still a bacon sandwich.
That's still a bacon sandwich. This all day long. This is a bacon sandwich.
So, quick. We've done a full-length video of this one ages ago, and a full-length video of this one earlier today. So you guys can go and watch that. But essentially, these are both, you know, mahogany-built guitars with a maple cap. This one here has a 25-inch scale length. This one here has a 24 3/4-inch scale length. So they're going to have a different feel.
And it feels easier to play.
And this one
sounds nicer.
And sounds better and looks nicer. So in terms of features, both hardtail. Although I'm going to give PRS a +1 on there because you do have the option on the PRS to have a trem.
Yes, you do. That's a point in my favour.
Whereas you don't on a Les
Ding.
Paul.
I want a ding for the point.
Unless you buy something like a Les Paul Access or something like that, which has got a Floyd on it, so that doesn't really kind of count.
Yeah.
We both have locking machine heads. Mine lock on the back like a normal style one.
Yours lock on the back of a headstock that notoriously breaks off.
What?
Mine does. Well, mine does lock on the back of a headstock, which hardly ever breaks because the break angle isn't.
If we're going to just start scoring points,
yes,
I have a guitar here that was played by Jimmy Page /
Yes,
Paul Kossoff. Let me just think of every other famous rock guitarist
old person
ever.
from the old days who doesn't do anything now, and all the new artists are playing PRS because it's a more ergonomic, better sounding guitar.
It's not true.
I'm loving this.
I've chosen here a sunburst, a beautiful flame top sunburst.
That is a stunning looking top.
Yeah, now this is in the Gibson range, Gibson Les Paul Standard. You actually get the choice to buy 3 different grades of top. This is the top of the range one, and still comes in slightly less than a regular PRS Custom 22. Or if you want one that's just AAA as opposed to quadruple A, the price goes down a little. And if you just want AA, the price goes down even more. So I could have this same guitar with a AA flame top at about £600 less than that guitar.
So what does AA actually mean? Because we know that the PRS 10 top thing is they take 10% of the best maple, and so it's
another totally subjective grading. Basically, you know, that AA means it's not plain. It's not a plain top. It has some flame in it, but sometimes you have to kind of move it in the light to see the flame. AAA is what you typically have seen used on Les Paul standards for about the last, I don't know, 10 or 15 years. Quadruple A is something that they've just kind of pulled out the bag more recently, which is insane flame stuff. The sort of stuff that perhaps historically would have been reserved for custom shop, but you now can have on these.
So obviously this came first. This was the predecessor. This was one of the first electric, you know, guitars to be made, and as such, they made it in a way that was not necessarily with that much comfort and ergonomic in mind. It was just get a great sounding guitar. So you've got a really thick, heavy, cumbersome piece of wood there.
Well, heavy, except of course that they're chambered nowadays. So basically, the weight is actually not that different to a PRS, albeit I agree it's quite a bit thicker.
It's a lot heavier.
Do you think so?
It's a lot heavier.
Let me try.
Ready?
It's a bit heavier. But basically, if you're a man instead of a pussy, you
So let's take a look at some of the comfort features. So on the back of mine, I've got a nice cutaway here just to fit into my belly or my man boob.
I've got a plastic thing here and a plastic thing here, which makes it really comfortable to.
But yours is a lot thicker than mine, so that might mean you get different, like more tone. People say that thicker body would give you more tone.
I kind of think that, again, we're having fun with you here. So I love PRS and Chappers loves Gibson, and we're just having fun with you. But basically, yeah, that's a good shout. The Les Paul has a tone. I think everybody's tried to copy the Les Paul, and I don't think, in fairness to PRS, I actually don't think the PRS is trying to copy the Les Paul, but there's loads of other brands that have. And there's something about a Gibson, you plug it into the right amplifier, like a driven Marshall or something like that, and it just goes, that's the sound. Don't put any pedals with it, just that's the sound. And it sounds epic.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why I guess I kind of love these guitars. Let's talk about the neck profile.
Okay. Well, so this one currently is I think it's a pattern. It feels like a pattern, actually. It might be a pattern.
Pattern thin.
Is it pattern thin? Okay.
Yeah, it tells you on the card. What does it say on the card? I think it's pattern thin.
Pattern.
So, it's just pattern, is it?
Yeah, pattern.
Okay, cool. Sorry, man. So that's more like a V chunkier profile.
Yeah. I quite like a bit of chunk in my hands.
Cool.
I've got the HFS pickups.
Yes. I have, now, again, maybe a little +1 for PRS, but
options,
PRS have,
baby!
Yeah, PRS have options. So you can have
5708s.
2 different style necks on this guitar and 2 different options on the pickups. Les Paul used to do a 50s or a 60s option, and on the 2012 Les Paul, I think they skipped that and they just said, look, pretty much everybody's buying the 60s profile anyway. And what we're going to do though now is we're going to make a compound radius version of that. So it's got a heavier radius down at the nut end and a slightly flatter radius up at the sort of widdly end.
Yeah, I've got jumbo chunky frets here.
I haven't. I would say I've just got regular frets. I've got a bound neck. Yours is a sort of binding, a rolled.
Yeah,
I would say definitely the rolling on the PRS is nice. But I find, because this neck is quite, what it tends to do is at the bit where your thumb goes round and the sort of bottom of your, or the sort of the edge of your palm goes round, it's quite sort of straight up, and it's almost, although it's officially a kind of a C shape. You guys will know if you've had Les Paul before. It's quite a deep C, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I tend to find as I'm holding here, it feels like I've got, you know, the neck in my hand. I don't feel like there's no gaps kind of between the neck and my hand.
No.
The PRSs, again, it's personal. The PRSs are slightly thinner, perhaps going to suit a guy that's maybe a little more sort of classically trained, or someone that's used to playing some sort of faster legato kind of stuff. But, you know.
Well, what about the look? Because I mean, I absolutely love the look of both of these guitars. I think the Les Paul all day long is just a classic, iconic looking guitar, but this is a ton of options, isn't it?
There's not a lot to dislike about either look. I think you can say that. Again, hats off to PRS. There are very, very, very few modern guitars that I would say have genuinely found a shape that is original and attractive looking. You know, there are lots of shapes that are original that are new, but I think they date very quickly, or they're of an era, and they tend to be quite, you know, divisive as to, you know, some people will like them, some people won't. But you know, everybody, well, I say everybody, I think I'm talking for most of you. Everybody loves the look of a Les Paul. Everybody loves the look of a Strat. Everybody loves the look of the Telecaster. When you get into sort of, you know, Ibanez's and ESPs and all that kind of family of guitars, some people will like the look, some people won't. It's more divided. I kind of think a PRS is pretty much universally, people would say, yep, that's an attractive looking guitar.
Yeah. Personally, I think PRS has joined the Holy Trinity. I think there's 4 of them now.
What is that then? A holy quadruply?
I wasn't going to use the word because I don't know what the word is.
The only thing I would, again, perhaps say about PRS, they've got a little reputation for maybe being a little bit sort of overly gaudy on the aesthetics. You know, I personally, I prefer the more simplistic sort of inlays that you'd get on a Strat or a Tele.
That's fine, because Les Pauls have a sort of, you know, reputation for being not particularly well made sometimes.
Yeah, I kind of feel I'm always. What do you want, Mr. Soundman?
I want to ask a question about the finish, because obviously Gibson's a nitro, so they're going to age like a badass.
Interesting point. That will age in a really, really well.
Yeah, these aren't nitro.
No. This will crack then, won't it?
No, that's essentially. I mean, going back, what was the question before we were talking about? Just before that, we were talking.
Well, I was saying that there's a reputation for Gibsons not being quite so well made sometimes.
And I think, to be honest with you, Gibson have really just got to take that on the chin. I kind of feel that, you know, I've been selling Gibsons for 20 years, and I kind of feel that there was a definite dark period in the 80s and the 90s that, particularly probably more the 80s and the early 90s, that Gibson have, you know, really struggled to shake off.
Yeah. So from your perspective as a guy that owns an enormous retail store in England, distributes you
we
European.
Would typically sell, you know, we will typically have through Andertons upwards of 1,000 Les Pauls a year. So I see a lot. And don't get me wrong here, I'm not for a minute going to try and say that, you know, Gibson are the most perfectly built guitars ever.
But no one is. Everyone has guitars that get sent back and B-stock and everything.
Well,
so it's perfectly natural.
I kind of think PRS have very few of those. You know, PRS on the whole, fantastic attention to detail. Gibson, I think, is, you know, at the end of the day, a nitrocellulose lacquer guitar is, you know, by the very way, the method that it's finished, gonna mean that, you know, you kind of, unless you're gonna spend forever finishing these, and of course you spend forever, the price goes through the roof. You know, you have to accept that there's a point at which you go, do you know what, look, okay, there's a tiny bit of bleed into the binding here. There's a tiny bit of where the lacquer sort of gathered around the neck join. You sometimes get this sort of orange peel effect, which is where you look at the lacquer and it could just do with a bit more buffing. But you sort of go, do you know what, in the greater spirit of things, why have you just bought the guitar? Did you buy it to stick it on the mantelpiece and go up and look at it, or did you buy it to rock the out of
Interesting
it,
point.
And that's why you buy a Les Paul.
Yeah, and in your opinion as a retailer, do you think that they're just producing better guitars now?
I definitely do, yeah. I mean, again, everybody's going to have seen a Les Paul somewhere in their life, and everyone's going to have opinion about it, and that's fine. And as I said, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to defend Gibson, you know, 100% of the time, but as I said, I see a lot of Gibson guitars, and the majority of them are very good. Electronics-wise, let's talk about that, because this I think is the 2013. Actually, this was same on the 2012. I actually think this is actually almost a nod to PRS.
Oh, really?
Well, because I think for many years that the five-way blade on it, or the five-way switch on a PRS that gave you some single coil functionality on that, was something you could never do on a Les Paul. Whereas now, Les Paul have kind of almost tried to plus one it. You got like every switch there is. So let's
quite convoluted because you got 4 individual switches.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I mean, I was saying to Rob, I'm naturally not the sort of I don't like mid playing to have to pull one of the knobs out to change the tone. So I prefer the blade for mid playing.
I would say that it used to be PRS that was convoluted with their rotary switch, which was, I think, ridiculous. But now we've got the 5-way blade, much better.
But if you just want to, you know, if you're just going to set a sound and that's the sound for the song, you know, that's fine. You can pull the sound out.
Yeah.
You've got the Peter Green effect on here, which I know you absolutely love, which flips the phase of the neck pickup.
And you have the ability to set each pickup with a different volume.
Yeah, absolutely. That's always been the case on the Les Paul. So, you know, if you want to have a easy peasy, you've got 2 separate volume controls.
Which is very, very useful for live. I've just got 1 volume, 1 tone and a 5-way. How easy are your volume knobs to turn? Because mine is the touch of a little finger and it's just immediately done.
They're in the wrong place too.
So you have to use a whole hand.
You kind of got to stop playing to adjust the volume. It's not like a Fender or a PRS where, I mean, I don't know, maybe I don't think you could. Maybe someone like Jeff Beck probably could, because he's just like a miracle man.
Yes.
No, not
so
really.
It's that kind of thing that, to me, PRS took this classic heritage and went, well, how can we make it better? And then they made things better without the restriction of the tradition, the heritage stopping them from doing it.
Yeah.
And so they changed the shape and they moved things around and made them easier to use. And that's what a PRS started out life as, an improved, in inverted commas, type of Les Paul.
I kind of, again, I was watching a PRS video recently of Paul Reed Smith talking to some quite famous players. I think he was talking to Derek Trucks and Carlos Santana and Warren Haynes. Haynes. And this is the end of the day, by the way, hence the reason he's a little tired.
Sorry.
And he was talking about how it's taken him quite a long time, but he's beginning to realise now that the PRS just has a voice of its own. It's not a question of, can it sound like a Les Paul on the bridge humbucker? Can it sound like a Strat in one of the outer phase pickups? You know, it just sounds like a PRS.
Yeah.
Which is great, really.
Which is absolutely why I said they've joined the Holy Trinity and become the 4 big brands now.
And I don't know. I mean,
let's go for some tonal variation.
I think we should. Let's stop talking.
So we've got the PRS. I'm going through an orange Rockerbird 50, the clean tone. And I'm going to give you just really simple open chords, let you listen to the sound.
I should really use the same amp.
You should use the same amp, buddy. You're in. Do it.
I will concede that one. The PRS is a little bit more stable. So I have about 57 different combinations of tone here.
So I would say you have more tonal variation. They are both great sounding guitars. More tonal variation, easier tones to get.
Yeah, I would accept that. I mean, I would probably, again, I'm quite happy just having a Les Paul that only has the 3-way toggle on it, to be honest, because that's the sound. There's no, you know, I mean, I quite like the coil tap. And the Peter Green sound is the kind of the thinner sound, so it's where you use both humbuckers together, but it reverses the phase of the neck pickup. It's the kind of accident that happened, or allegedly accident that happened in Peter Green's guitar. So if they were wired correctly, they're not fighting against each other, they're sort of working together. Yeah. And the last one is basically what's called like a blow switch, straight to the bridge humbucker with everything turned up maximum. So you could be, you know, you could be on the neck pickup with quite a soft tone, pull that out.
Now, something that the Les Paul has that I don't have is the ability to adjust the intonation and the saddle points, because this is just fixed in one position.
Well, there is an argument that says if they're all perfectly in the correct position on day one, there is no need to adjust the intonation.
Absolutely.
There is equally an argument that says, is that even possible if you put very heavy strings on it?
This is
you
it.
Need to compensate
what gauge
for
of
that?
strings are these intonated for? Are they intonated for 12s or 9s or probably 10s? But
probably 10s, yeah. So I think you might there might be an argument that says if you're going to put some very heavy strings on it, you might be better off with the trem version of this, where you can at least adjust the intonation.
Yeah.
Again, if PRS are watching and they want to come on and comment and just say, no, you got that wrong, these are fine no matter what gauge of string, then feel free to say that. I'm not entirely sure. Oh, do you know what? You can actually move the whole bridge back.
Well, you can move the whole bridge, but not individual.
No.
You know, so
you could probably get it nuts.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure you can get it great, but I'm just saying you got more ability to adjust your intonation. That was a point for you, Cam.
Thank you very much. Do you know what? I'm going to throw in another one, and this is a little bit sort of controversial, and you know, you may or may not agree with me, but you just have to accept that I am right because I run a guitar store and I know. You walk out the store with one of these, and you've just parted with 2,400 or something like that,
value.
And you will still get secondhand, even immediately, easily $2,000 for this guitar, and it won't be long before it's probably worth 2,400 again. It's 2,500. You walk out the store, instantly a used one of those sells for about 1,500. So and that's just nothing. It's not a slur against PRS. It's just Fender and Gibson live in this unique bubble of amazing secondhand resale values, and every other brand that there is doesn't.
Yes.
So it just is what it is.
We should just say scale lengths are different.
24 3/4, 25, meaning mine's a little easier to bend.
Mine is a little bit.
Yours probably works better with heavier gauge strings and a drop tune thing.
Yeah.
No, sorry, that's what I mean. Yours probably works better with like a drop tune thing. Let's jam. You look better looking with that guitar than this one.
Well, I think you look better. I think you sound better with that guitar than this one.
Give me my plectrum back.
Give me my plectrum back.
It's your own one.
Just threw it at me.
It's fine.
So I've been Rob Chapman,
and I've been the captain.
And PRS won that video.
No, they didn't. Gibson did.
Well, you know who really won the video? The viewer.
The viewer. Anyway, look. You know what? Guitars is all about. If we'd have thrown a Fender in the mix, who knows?
Lee, what's better, Chinese or Indian food?
Indian.
I agree with you. I've been Rob Chappers.
I've been the captain.
Bye.